Hello everybody. As usual, I hope you're doing well wherever you are. I want to share today a reflection that I had on the paradigms that we grew up with and the little problem that left behind in our minds as we started developing into this seeking of the spiritual path. And that is perhaps a very small point that we don't pay attention to, but it makes all the difference. And that is the disturbance that is present in our minds in terms of our identity. Now, there are three paradigms that I'm going to talk about, and these paradigms we're very familiar with, and the idea is to see where this little disturbance is in all of them that we still carry over, and that is still an impediment for us to continue to the transcendent unity of all. Now, the first paradigm, we're pretty, we have healed this already, but it's still very present in our society, is the fact that the universe is a material or is simply made out of matter. And this, of course, denies the existence of a prior intelligence to the movement of what we call matter or energy, and that there is no intelligence other than what we know as human intelligence, which is just a random coincidence, a fluke in the system that created what we call consciousness. And so this model is quite obsolete, especially in well-informed scientific circles, because it's becoming very blatant that we cannot unify quantum physics and relativity with this paradigm. So it's kind of old and obsolete, but it's still part of the influence that makes us internally, we have bought so many of these concepts, and we still work with this identification with the fact that things are influencing me. I am a product of the universe. That's exactly what the disturbance is. We could call it that. It should be, I am a product of this universe. And we'll explore this. The second paradigm, we have also healed and understood a lot, especially in this path. If you're watching this video, you have been on this path for a while and learning so much already that you know that we have healed this internally, which is religion. But religion contains the same disturbance, which does a good job to explain metaphorically a lot the way in which the universe was created. And depending on the sources, you may find something a little bit more esoteric or more dense in substance. But in the same way, they describe that we were made out of something. And so we have the same issue. We are a product of this universe, whatever it may be. Is it matter, or is it God and divine or divinity? And so we are made out of matter or divinity. But the fact remains that we are still made out of something. And so this is an impediment that we carry over from the conditioning in which we grew up in our society, because this wasn't explained. This wasn't taken into the mystical side of what this actually means. It was just the exoteric part, which again just means the outer part of the teaching, and esoteric meaning the inner part of the teaching, the most private or secret teachings, which are not very much available because it requires some sort of initiation into it. The third paradigm that we are under, especially now, which is gaining a lot of momentum, is what we call the New Age spirituality, which is just like a mix of all these teachings, exoteric and esoteric, all of them together, and it becomes a fun mess that we have to sift through so we can get some substance out of this. And it's something that I have spoken about in my own experience and my own path, that I became very confused and I couldn't understand many of the contradictions that were out there in terms of the information that seemed very real, very true, but they still lacked something, and there was that contradiction. It just didn't match my other understandings. So this is New Age, and it brings us the idea that yes, there's a higher intelligence, and you are that, but you're also made out of this, and so everything is so mixed up in a way that we cannot understand it because our minds cannot wrap around these concepts when they contradict each other. How is it that I am the universe and yet I'm being influenced by others? That doesn't make any sense. There is a lot of paradoxes here that needs to be understood by creating what is called direct insight, and that's where I'm heading, of course. So again, what's the result in most of these spiritual seeking paths within New Age? I am a product of this universe. I just don't understand how. So as I have been saying, the spiritual path is nothing but a crisis in identity. We don't know who we are. We are still battling to know, and it doesn't matter what kind of model of reality we buy into, whether that be a religious or a scientifical or Gnostic, Hinduist, or whatever. It doesn't matter where it comes from. We're always affected by the same paradigm of I am a product of this universe, and yet that makes me feel unsafe. I don't understand. You see, the transcendent here is when you see that everything is inviting you to seek within yourself. All the answers are within you. Everything will be explained and understood from an inner intelligence, not the outer one. And so we enter this path of introspection, of knowing the self. Now, there are so many ways to do this. And of course, I am keen always with direct insight, as I said. And direct insight brings us to knowing that what I am, essentially what I am, is really what contains everything. What I essentially am is the container of reality. So understanding this blows away this disturbance of thinking that I am a product of this universe, and brings about the knowledge. This is what the Gnostics used to call gnosis, or knowledge, direct knowledge. Now I know that what I see as a world is a product of myself. You see how this is reversed completely with direct insight? You know that this is a product of you, but you have to know first who you are. And now there are two selves here that are usually expressed. There is the absolute self, which is the container of reality, and then there is the sense of being self, the sense of being a person, the sense of being a human, sense of being a spirit, the sense of being a soul, social memory complex, a mind-body spirit complex. All of these things are a sense of being something. But this something and this absolute self are both the same. But the true reality is the absolute self, because the absolute self contains the manifested being, whereas the manifested being does not contain the absolute self. It is contained within, or appears in this absolute self. So this is a distinction that needs to be made. And again, this is something that it's an inner alchemy, if you will. And once you do this, once you realize that what you truly are, essentially what you are, is the container of reality, then all of the things that we have been looking for start to develop naturally, effortlessly, which is, you want healing? Healing comes from there, is by realizing that you are not the product of the past, of all the things that have been happening to you and how you associate yourself with an ego. Ego dissolution, well, this is natural, of course, because There is no longer a reality to your identity with the thoughts. This starts also to dissolve, of course. Ego dissolution, or ego death, as we call it. Meditation. Oh, it's so difficult for me to meditate. Meditation is, the essence of meditation is this, is to remain in your own presence, to recognize your being. Simple as that. Stay there in the recognition of your being. You will see how your mind is going to drag you, because it's so used to identifying with thoughts. And so this is the gradual process of deconditioning your mind. You want to raise your Kundalini energy? Simple as that. Kundalini energy is just the rising of consciousness with experience. Experience is not stuck, it's not being met by consciousness at a lower level of self-identification with others and the societal. All that energy goes to the heart, and that's where you do spiritual work. So all of this is bringing energy of experience with consciousness to the heart. All of these things, all of these systems of energy can be explained and lived. It can be experienced and developed within this recognition. This is why we say that I am is the absolute truth. I am is the highest power of the universe. And we access this by recognizing it, not intellectually, but going deep inside and abiding in it. So all of this is the flipping of this disturbance that used to be, whatever explanation I get, I am always the product of this universe. And I don't like feeling like that. Of course you don't, because you're not that. And you haven't fully identified yourself. So there's always going to be some sort of suffering that comes out, because suffering is only confusion. It's confusing yourself with something finite, with something that is a product of some higher forces. And so you see how you return the idea of higher forces creating you to inner forces creating this, which you may sometimes confuse yourself with. You think you are the body, you think you are the mind, or the continuous mind, because the mind is just a stream of thoughts. And so deconditioning these thought identities is really what reveals this self that is always present, it's always been you, and it acts spontaneous. It's just day to day, it lives the way it wants to. This is the great transition, and this is the great discovery. This is the secret teaching of all mystical traditions, has always been to do direct insight into your own being, to know who you are, and from there everything just gets resolved. So that little paradigm, or that disturbance within all paradigms, which is I am a product of the universe, gets resolved within the knowledge that no, this is the product of me. Now I take responsibility for everything that is happening. Nothing as liberating as this. Absolutely not. So that's the message I wanted to share in my reflection. As usual, thank you for watching these videos and for being interested in this path as I am. And with nothing else to say, I hope you're doing well, like I said. Good day, good night, whatever you are, and I'll see you in the next video.